Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Keys to Crypto. Sorry about my absence. I've been working on some exciting things with this channel. So in the next coming weeks, you're going to see a lot of those changes, and I'm going to bring some great information to the table as we approach the Bitcoin halving. And speaking of that, today that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Bitcoin halving that's coming up in about 3 weeks, as well as, since my first video at the first of the year, the Bitcoin, the ETF has been approved, and what I'm going to talk to today about is how that affects the price and how it affects the price of Bitcoin going forward. So with the ETF, what it basically does, and we have a good reference point, and this, unlike most channels, I have a reference point by which I bring this information. Several years ago, it was in the early 2000s, gold, they approved the ETF for it. Well, shortly after the approval of that ETF, it was within a year or so, the price of gold went up over 350%. Now, is the same thing going to happen with Bitcoin? Absolutely. Because we have a reference point. Because if we didn't, then we wouldn't know where it's going to go. But like I said, since this has happened, that's what I believe is going to happen, plus the halving, plus some other things. But in regards to the price, what that ETF actually does is the companies like BlackRock and Fidelity and ARK Investment, those that got approved for it, what happens is they buy the crypto, and whatever it is they're backing, whether it's a 401k or a retirement or investment, whatever it is, they literally have to hold that Bitcoin, meaning they have to have possession of it. Meaning, with there only been 21 million Bitcoin in circulation anyway. So what that does is that takes more of Bitcoin out of circulation. So henceforth, that's why leading up to this halving, and this is the first time that it's ever happened, Bitcoin has actually reached its all-time high before the halving, which is huge, because ultimately I'm going to tell you where that price is going to go as a result of this ETF being approved. And I had to make some corrections from my first video because it hadn't been approved. So, and also what makes this very important too is with this halving coming up is the number of Bitcoin that's mined is cut in half. So what it does is there's even less Bitcoin in circulation. So what that does is age-old thing, supply and demand. So when you have this ETF, they're taking Bitcoin out of circulation. Then you have the halving is taking basically Bitcoin out of circulation. And then you have all these countries such as the United States. Every country in the world now is buying Bitcoin, i.e. meaning China. They're actually, this is good information that you may not know, but they, over the past year or two, they're actually the country that has bought the most Bitcoin. Now, what does that tell you? It tells me that they got a lot invested in things, as well as what do they know that we don't? Well, is what I know as well. It has value and where it's ultimately going to go. So by this ETF taking it out of circulation, you got these countries that are buying, as well as now this year you're starting to see more and more mass adoption, and you're going to see a lot more of it, as well as all these new narratives such as the AI narrative and the real world asset narrative. There's a lot of different ones, as well as the fact is now over the past year or two, cryptocurrency used to be, it was just kind of something that was kind of the kooky people over there deal with it. Well, now that it's starting to get more mass adoption, they've labeled it as an asset class. And what I mean by that is right now, like Bitcoin, the market capitalization of it is 1.8 trillion at the time of this recording. Now, why is that important? You can take Visa and MasterCard and take their actual market cap and combine it, and it just equals what Bitcoin is. What does that tell you about the value of Bitcoin? That means it's huge, because if you know anything about Visa and MasterCard, it's worldwide. Bitcoin surpasses both of those combined. So, and actually I have to go back and look at it, and I'll do it for another video, of actually Bitcoin, if it was its own country, falls into the top 20 as far as as just because of its value. So this is why I tell you what I do. Now, as far as where it's going, like I said, we're roughly 3 weeks away from the halving. Right now, it currently sits at about $67,000. Now, if you take what I was telling you earlier, you do a 350% return. That'll put it roughly 200. It'll put it about 250,000, somewhere, give or take, somewhere through there. 250 to 300,000. Now, here's what's important. Usually on most of these Bitcoin cycles as well, there's always a minimum of a 5x return. So if you take, mind you here, follow these numbers. If you take, the fact is there's probably going to be about a 350% increase of Bitcoin due to this percent increase due to this ETF. Plus, the fact is, usually there's at least a minimum of a 5x return. Plus, you have all this mass adoption and retailers and all this coming on. I really believe in this next 2 years, you're going to look at Bitcoin being over $1 million for one Bitcoin. Now, I've heard one or two people talk about, I think Kathy Wood with ARK Investment, she come up with it and she was projecting it out to 2030. She's probably maybe a little bit closer to right on it, but I still think she's correct on the number, and it has to do with these type things, because the ETF wasn't in play at the last thing. Bitcoin being at its all-time high wasn't, at this. These countries buying Bitcoin to help prop up their fiat currency wasn't in play. You got Wall Street getting involved. You got mainstream, it's starting to become, they talk about it on Fox. I mean, that's why this is huge. So, like I said, my projection, yeah, some people say, man, this is way out here for this channel or anybody to predict that. But the thing about it is, I'm doing it straight by numbers. I'm basing it straight on facts of things that I know, that I really believe in the next coming years, 2 to 3 years, that you're going to see this Bitcoin is going to trend up towards $1 million. I have very little reservation saying that. Now, here's the thing about it is, I'm not a financial advisor. You have to do your own research, and above all else, guess what? Never, ever, ever risk no more than what you're willing to lose. So, with this being the case, also I want, in this next video or so, I'm going to talk about Ethereum, because usually after the Bitcoin halving, 30 days, 1 month almost, and it's like clockwork, Ethereum always shoots up. Well, I'm going to tell you what the price prediction is going to be on it, and because there's an ETF I think is going to get approved for it, and I'm going to tell you where it's going to go. So I appreciate you sticking there with me. Like I said, I know it's been a long time since I posted a video, but get informed. You're still not late to the party. Get in, get invested. If you're new to this and you're just getting started, buy you a little bit of Bitcoin. I'm not telling you to go buy $60,000 worth of it. Now, if you got it, it wouldn't be a bad idea, because another thing is, I believe in these next 3 weeks, you're going to see this Bitcoin price increase by right at 30%. So I would say by the end of April, like I said, it's 67 now. I think that you're going to see this price somewhere around 90,000 in the next 30 days. Come back to this channel and we're going to fact check this in 30 days to see how close I am. But anyway, I appreciate it. Come back. I'm going to do some more singing and dance, of course. But anyway, talk to you later, and have a good day.